Thank you so much, Margaret. I absolutely love that song. Can I tell you, I actually had it on repeat driving here. Such a great song to listen to. And you know what? Actually, I dare anybody to listen to that song and not understand who they are. Like, just feel divine and want to get up and sing and dance. It's definitely one of those songs that you just want to, like, you really feel your divinity. And, you know, plus, I love that you have in there rule breaker, because let's face it, that's probably my favorite line in there. I'm a real rule breaker. Me too, Margaret, I promise. I love it. I love that song. And when I first saw the title, it reminded me a lot of, you know, there's almost 8 billion people in this planet. And yet the one thing, while we may have a lot of things in common, our hair color, our eye color, you know, our ex-husbands, I don't know, whatever. There's a lot of things that we might have in common out there. But one thing that none of us have in common, 8 billion people, is our fingerprints. Isn't that amazing? Like, I think that's like mind-blowing. And so when I heard that song, God's Fingerprints, I thought, that's exactly right. So where God or love or the universe is this macrocosm, I am that microcosm. I am that unique expression, that fingerprint, that very distinct fingerprint that each and everyone is. It's the all in the one expressed as many, the all expressed as many. And that's what the fingertip, God's fingertip just really reminded me of. And I love to dance to it, so thank you. When Dr. Ellen and I were talking about what we were going to discuss today, which was in the line of freedom, we thought, you know, our talk title would be Mind, the Birthplace of Freedom. Now, when we sent this to James, is it? Oh, it's not up yet. Oh, here we go. So when we sent the talk title to James, we didn't really connect with Alex to let her know what we wanted. And if you come here every Sunday, you see all this beautiful artwork that Alex does all the time. So when I saw the slide that she did for us, I thought, oh my God, this is so perfect. And it's so in alignment with exactly what Margaret was saying about God's fingerprints all over me. And knowing that mind, your mind, the divine mind, which is really just one, is everything. And your mind, as you can see, look at this. You've got, in your mind, you can create a butterfly, a flower, leaves, an ocean. All of it is created from this one mind, this divine mind. I know it's kind of hard to sort of separate and feel free and feel that freedom with everything that's going on right now. There's not one person in this world who's not impacted by what we are facing today. So it's hard to understand that there is a freedom when you're impacted by something so great, whether it's the pandemic, whether it's the civil rights that's happening, whether it's anything that is going on. I know for myself, when I talk to people, there's a lot of fear, anger, outrage. There's also loneliness, but there's also opportunity. There's also a blessing in being with your family. And so what I came to realize when this was going on, because I saw a lot of divisiveness and I saw a lot of clashing. And when I stepped back for a moment to realize what is this all about? Why are we so upset? Why are we so, ready to fight? Why are we so ready to be divisive? I had to take a moment and understand that what I see out there as clashing and divisiveness is actually what I see in here. What I have found is that out picturing of what is happening in the world is that inward picture of myself. So I had to do some real, as Margaret's song said, go deeper. I had to go deeper and really be in that uncomfortable place of understanding what that inward clashing is about, what that inward divisiveness, what that inward strife is about, in order to see something different outside. It doesn't change the circumstances. It doesn't change what's going on, but it does change my perception and how I can deal with it. Because if all I see out there is this divisiveness and this clashing, then how can I get anywhere? How can I make that change? As Mahatma Gandhi says, how can I be the change that I want to see? He understood that what happens inwardly is the outpicturing So when I had the opportunity to look in and understand what was happening inside and be in that uncomfortable place to get real with myself, I could transform that energy into something else and create something that is an opportunity. Nelson Mandela, after decades of being imprisoned, wrote, "As I walked out the door towards my freedom, I knew that if I did not leave the anger, the hatred, and bitterness behind, that I would still be in prison." And so I understood that if I didn't look into what was happening inside, that I would be imprisoned by it. And Rumi also says, "Why do you stay in prison when the door is wide open?" And that door is your mind. Mind is the birthplace of your freedom. So as I continue to have these conversations with people, trying to reveal what has happened internally to make an acceptance of what's happening outwardly, I can look at it and see as an opportunity, not an oppression. Because those are the things that you can see out there. Are you seeing oppressive or are you seeing opportunity? Are you seeing a protest or are you seeing a march? What is it that you're seeing? So today I invite you to really look and see how you are perceiving what is happening in that outward world and understand that your mind, the birthplace of your freedom, has the ability to change that perception. As the Buddha says, no one outside ourselves can rule us inwardly. When we know this, we become free. So when you know that you are responding, you are either responding to what's going on or responsible for what's going on, then you have the opportunity to change your own perception, moving that perception from perception and projection to passion and purpose, and hoping that that passion and purpose brings a lot of peace into your heart and therefore into those outside of you. So I'll leave you with one last quote from Swami Vivekananda. "Never say no. Never say I cannot. For you are infinite. You are the all power. It is all within you. You can do anything." So in this moment, I invite you to really look into your perception of what's happening around you. And if it's working, share it. If it's something that you really enjoy, share it with other people. Be apart with other people. But if the perception and the projection that's out there is not constructive and it's not something you enjoy, I challenge you to look in, change your perception, use your mind, become that change that you want to see outwardly. Have the opportunity, and you can move away from the oppression. Namaste. And now, my beautiful Reverend Ellen, Dr. Reverend Ellen Contente.
Thank you. Let's give Liza, Reverend Liza, another round of applause.
Thank you, thank you.
So now you're going to see another example of the generation difference. Although I have to say that Reverend James, who is older than me by only a few years, he does use technology, but I don't trust technology. I've had so many challenges with technology. And it's interesting, when Liza and I were deciding on our talk title, I think one of the things we were also a little concerned, I won't say we were concerned about it, but one of the things we asked each other last night is, what if we say the exact same thing? And the truth is, if we did say the exact same thing, that would be fine, because everybody has a different interpretation of the exact same thing. And I am going to be talking about freedom. And the good news is we didn't use the same exact quotes. So this will be a little bit different. But I do want to start off with what Ernest Holmes says about freedom. And he said the divine plan is one of freedom. Bondage is not God ordained. The inherent nature of man is to constantly be seeking freedom, the need to be free. And since the beginning of time, that's what man has been doing. And even the birth of this nation, 244 years ago, we fought for independence and freedom. Freedom from the oppression of the king of England. And today, people are still fighting the oppression. As Liza talked about in her talk, what's going on out in the world, people are oppressed. And I looked up the definition of the word oppression, and another definition is mental distress. And I would say that all of us are dealing with oppression. And, we want to be free from this pandemic. We are locking ourselves up in our homes, right? And almost feeling like caged animals. At least I'm speaking for myself. So I'm grateful to be here right now. But Osho said that, or Rajneesh, he later became known as Osho, he said that true freedom is always spiritual. It cannot be chained, handcuffed, or jailed. And yet that's exactly what we do to ourselves. We live our lives in chains, and we never even know we have the key. So I don't know how many of you know the reference to that Eagles song. But, what do you chain yourself to? What are you chained to? Are you chained to work, your partners, the TV, refrigerator? Maybe I'm just talking about my own life. But here's the truth. I mean, these last few months since the pandemic, stay at home, work at home, school your children at home. Luckily, mine are 21, but they still live at home. But these last few weeks, last few months, I feel like I've literally been chained to my desk. And first of all, I am very blessed that I still get to work, but all of my live on-site trainings that I do were wiped off my calendar. They slowly, eventually got put on virtual, and I've done every virtual platform, I think, on the planet. We're having a little bit of Zoom fatigue right now, but this past week, I think I put in multiple 12, 15-hour days from doing webinars that started at 7 a.m. for a GE and on the East Coast, all the way to 8 o'clock at night to, I think, a global insurance company for their China group, but chained to my desk. And, what do we do when we want to escape? We go into the living room and we become couch potatoes, usually too exhausted to even go for a walk, but binge in front of the TV and trying to escape by watching Netflix. How many of you watch your favorite shows on Netflix? So trying to escape my own private prison watching Ozark, which is... That didn't do it. Then I think I moved over to Dr. Foster, which I just discovered and binged-watched in 2 days. But unfortunately, the characters were dealing with very similar issues to mine. So don't go watch them, because then you'll know what some of the issues are that I'm dealing with. But here's the truth. If we continue to chain ourselves to our baggage, we will never be free. Thich Nhat Hanh said, letting go gives us freedom, and freedom is the only condition for happiness. If in your heart you still cling to anything, anger, anxiety, or possessions, you cannot be free. And we know possessions don't make us happy. I mean, they might spark some joy for a little bit, and then we put them in the back of our closet and we kind of forget about them. And, the science of well-being and happiness teaches us that possessions do not keep us happy. So like a lot of us that have been home cleaning out the closets, I have, I think, 10 bags in my trunk right now of clothes between my closet, my kids' closet that we want to get rid of. But are we willing to clean out the closets of our minds and our hearts? In the recesses of those closets, if you are still holding on to past transgressions, shame, guilt, you will never be free, and you will never be happy. You have to be willing to let go of all of that. So many people are suffering right now, and it's not just race relations. Right? People are suffering in their relationships. Liza talked about how great it is to be home with family. Not so much. When you have to, when you're literally underfoot in a tiny apartment and you have to school your kids, You have to take care of your kids and you have to work. Relationships are suffering. Health is suffering. Not just COVID-19, but the COVID-15 that's going around. All right, it's not 15, it's only 5, but on this frame, it feels like 15, right? And our gyms have been closed, so some of us are working out at home. I started running, and actually started a half-marathon training program on my phone, but then it got, woohoo! But then all the races got canceled. I'm actually doing a virtual race on Tuesday for National Ice Cream Day, so come into my neighborhood, and you can cheer me on. But our health is suffering. And the truth is, our mental health is suffering. Our mental health is suffering. You know, if the mind is the birthplace of freedom, then why do we keep locking ourselves up with self-limiting beliefs? Beliefs that we're not good enough, that we're not smart enough, that we can't have what we want in our lives. We keep ourselves in these chains. And, you know, even when we do go out and try to make things better with all the protests or the marches, however, you know, whatever your viewpoint is, but when we don't see the changes that we want or as quickly as we want, we retreat back, kind of like a turtle who pokes his head out, and then we retreat back and we just settle. We settle for, oh, well, that's the way it is. Thomas Merton said, the biggest human temptation is to settle for too little. Now, I thought the biggest human temptation was ice cream sandwiches, because I think I have eaten one every single day since this pandemic. But we settle for too little because of fear. Because of fear, we're afraid to have what we want, right? And so we do what we all know affectionately here is the spiritual bypass. We say, it's all good, everything's okay, everything's good, right? And it's true, I mean, it is all good, and it is important to be grateful because gratitude is another gateway to happiness. And we absolutely should be grateful for what we have. But it's okay to be grateful and want more. That is the divine urge, the creative process. To want more, be more, have more. Of course we want to have more. Of course we want our relationships to be better. We want our communities to be better. But what do? Right? We allow fear, the chains of fear and doubt to keep us down. Shakespeare said that our doubts are traitors, and they make us lose the good we oft might win for fear of attempting. And that was my attempt at a Broadway reference. Theatrical, right? So it passes. But when we doubt that we can have what we want, we don't attempt. We're afraid to try. We need to let go of the fear and the doubt that's holding us back, that's holding us down. When we step into the freedom of who we are, right? When we remember who we are, our authentic selves, it is only in that place where love and compassion reside. When we know who we are, we will win at everything. It is in this place that we recognize our connectiveness to everything and everyone on this planet. And in homage to John Lewis, who just passed away, our civil rights icon, he said, we're a family. We all live in the same house. And it is only when we can truly recognize that and live that will we all be free. Namaste.